I'm better than I used to be, but I'm certainly far from perfect at it. But the goal is just continual progress. We can
Seriously,
aim for
yeah.
perfection, but we should be very pleased with progress.
You're listening to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, a podcast where I have conversations with inspirational people. My name is Chris, but my family calls me Kristof. My goal is to have as many conversations as possible with people who have forged their own path by pursuing their dreams, making them a reality, all the while emitting positivity and sharing this knowledge with others. I seek these people out and share this information with you, proving to the world that you can do what makes you happy and do what you want for a living while being a good human being. We'll talk about careers, but we'll also cover any story that inspires. Let's do this while helping each other. Thanks for listening. I'm happy you're here. What's up, guys? Welcome to conversation number 49 of the Kristof Lewis podcast. My guest today is Alan Stein Jr. He's coached Kevin Durant. He's an author. He's a speaker on TED. He's done so many things. It's mind-blowing. We saw eye to eye on so many great things. And though I think it's very important to talk to people that you both disagree and agree with, this guy, I'm telling you, he just aligns so much with so many of my values and my morals. And I was really excited to share his message. If you're new here and you've never heard this podcast before, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, download the episode, and if you really enjoy what you heard today and you've gained value from it, I thoroughly would appreciate if you rate it and you comment and tell me what you do like. So thank you so much. I look forward to keeping in touch with you because you can find me on Instagram at Kristof Lewis. I respond to everybody and I love talking to you guys and helping you guys. If you need anything at all, I am telling you, don't think I'm just saying this, reach out to me and I would love to talk to you. Without further ado, welcome to the Kristof Lewis podcast.
No, I'm excited, man. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just telling you, I am so excited because your videos that I've seen online are absolutely inspiring, and it aligns with a lot of the values that I try to give every single day to the people that listen to the podcast and the people that I interact on a daily basis. You've been a coach, an author, and like I just said, a speaker, and some of the people you've coached have been incredible and gone on to do amazing things. So to be able to speak to you means a lot to me, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. I know we'll have a good conversation then if we're in alignment on a lot of those principles and values. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple of the things like I was saying, and I was talking to a lot of people recently, one of the things that stuck out of my head immediately is you talking about how change is not a negative thing, and so many people see change as a negative thing. And this happened at work recently, this week, last week. Things were changing, in daily life, and people that have been around for a while and see change in their life just are automatically, like even before the sentence is finished, they're like, whoa, 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 I don't want to change. And then I thought about that and I was like, but why? Like, maybe because I haven't been here as long, I see it from a different perspective. But then I was like, bing, like that's what it is. It's perspective. So how are you interpreting that information, and is it really bad? Like, have you even had a moment to actually have it saturate into your brain and figure out what it is? And I think if we actually sit back and think about all the things that change in our life and how we kind of freak out and get nervous because we're uncomfortable, but that's probably a good thing because when we're comfortable, I know when I'm comfortable as it is, it's not a good place to be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, change is a fascinating one. I mean, I've really tried to unpack that over the last couple of years. And there's a few things I realized. One, just the word itself gives most people a little bit of anxiety. I mean, if you were to walk up to anyone and tell them that something needs to change or something has to change or that something's going to change, their armpits and their palms start to sweat, their heart rate starts to accelerate, blood pressure goes up. And I look back at that. I think as human beings, we are creatures of habit and we love our routines and we get in our groove. And when that's going to be disrupted or when we have to change that, it just makes us severely uncomfortable. And but the crazy part about the whole thing is change is inevitable. I mean, I don't know why anyone would waste their mental, physical, and emotional currency trying to resist it because change is coming whether you like it or not. And I mean, even over the course of this conversation, I know this is going to sound overly dramatic, but over the course of this conversation, the world will be changing a little bit, and we have to learn how to embrace that. As a basketball performance coach or a former basketball performance coach, I learned to embrace the fact that change was good, that change was needed, that discomfort was a requirement and a prerequisite to growth. So thankfully, I'm not as resistant to change as maybe some other people are, because yeah, we go through so many transitions and changes in our life. There's no point in trying to resist them.
Yeah, and I think you said you're used to it. So if you're used to this and you've been consistently accepting that change is inevitable, like you said, even by the time I finish the sentence, so much has changed. And I don't think it is dramatic at all. I think it's a good thing to be cognizant that the world is always changing. Even though I'm in this office and you're in your office and it seems like we're quarantined to things are just happening in here, there's a million, a billion, 7 billion things happening outside of this office and out of this room. So it's crazy. But before I go any further, I mean, like I said in the introduction, I mean, you've been able to coach some incredible people. You're an author and you've been able to speak so much. For just a really quick recap of maybe if people don't know who you are and how have you, I mean, it's just incredible to see where you've gone to.
Well, I've spent most of my career, almost 20 years, as a basketball performance coach, which is a basketball strength and conditioning coach. I specialized on the performance side, on the fitness side. And, basketball has been a major pillar of my life for my entire life. I just turned 43 a few weeks ago, and I remember falling in love with the game of basketball around 5 or 6 years old. So it really has been a staple of my life.
Absolutely.
And as I got older and I was able to play in college, I took my passion for basketball, but then started to develop this equal affinity for performance training and improving athleticism and mind-body connection and vertical jump and explosiveness. And then as I continued to age and mature and get more experience, then I started to develop another passion and affinity for leadership and how to build connection with teammates and how to create a winning culture and, the best ways to hold each other accountable and all of that stuff really started to fascinate me. And that's what caused me to take this leap a couple of years ago to leave the basketball world and enter what I call the corporate space and as a speaker and an author and help businesses improve.
There's your change though, right?
Yeah. Exact same stuff, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's so cool. Like I grew up, I love soccer, and around the same age, 4 or 5 years old, I started playing, and I love team sports and all of those things that you just described. Being able to work with other people at such a young age and develop all those skills is absolutely pertinent to an evolution of the mind and continuing to grow and being able to be cognizant again of the world around you and see that everybody else is going on and be able to get along with those people. Starting that from a young age like that can put you in a position to where you have the opportunity to be in a leadership position, like you were saying, with this team sport. So whether you're the captain or whatever, these are some great opportunities, and you get to just evolve through that. And then as that works through your life, you go into high school and college and all of these things, and there's just more and more opportunities. And then, as you said, just a few years ago, 30, 40 years later, there's still these opportunities for change, and you capitalize on those, and you see them as good things because they are good things, because typically when we hit this resistance or this change, can be used maybe the same there, and we hit that and we change our trajectory a little bit, then it's because we're trying to better ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. Sport can teach us things and reinforce principles that really nothing else can. And that's why I think it's such a valuable learning tool for young people. And I'm such a big advocate now of kids continuing to play sports, even if they have no potential to play, after high school or anything like that. That's not the point. Sport can be a tremendous reinforcer of all of these qualities. And really what I found and what my book's really about is the transfer between sport and business. And how much crossover there is. I mean, what it takes to be an elite performer in a game like basketball is very similar in principle to what it takes to be an elite performer in anything. And same thing with building team cohesion and culture. I mean, what it takes to build a winning culture with a sports team is same foundational principles of what it takes to build a winning culture in business. And obviously the technical side, the tactical side, the X's and O's, those are going to be different, but everything else really remains the same. And I found that some of the most successful entrepreneurs and executives and business leaders I've been around, derived a lot of their leadership from sport, even if it was from a young age. It doesn't mean they were world-class athletes themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't even have to play in college, but they helped hone a lot of those traits through sport.
Exactly. I like the word you said there, honed. And again, I was talking about like the evolution of the mind. Even if you don't carry it into what we were talking about high school and college, it still puts you in the opportunity where you're going to face that resistance, these tough times. Because I know, like when I played football and soccer in high school, and there were some times where, like in the moment, heat of the moment, everybody's just waiting to see if you can do this. And being in those super high pressure situations, yeah, that's not business, but being able to be in a position like that and be able to take that pressure and then execute like nothing. And now here's an instance when, I remember I was a free safety and I was a wide receiver and I was also a kicker because I played soccer. But I know when I went to go kick, it's one of those things, obviously, nobody cares about the kicker until he misses, right? But sometimes, I was so nervous. But on the inverse, instead of thinking about the world around me, I would just completely block out the world and I would just be decisive on what I had to do, just kick it between the two uprights. And that's all I had to do in that moment. Nothing else mattered. And I think being able to be decisive like that, and then, like I said, on the inverse, block things out about you and just be able to focus, because focus is a very important thing that I've heard, Buffett and Gates talk about. They're just very, very focused. As I think like their number one word they've probably said. But to be able to do that, as well as being in those stressful situations and then handle it, not crack or break, I can absolutely see how you're making that connection between sports and then, starting at an early age and getting that programmed at an early age and then having that carry on before. So I don't even care if the kid doesn't do it for that long because they did it as a child. So like I said, their programming is already like that.
For sure. I mean, it's the mindsets and rituals and routines and disciplines and habits, and, the ability to be coachable, to have confidence, but blend that with humility. One of the biggest things sport teaches is how to handle adversity. Every practice, every game, every workout, you're having some type of adversity, and that's, you build that as a muscle. That's ultimately what grit is. I mean, in theory, when you shoot the ball and you miss, that's technically adversity. I mean, any good shooter's it's not like they're gonna give up the game because they missed a shot. It's not life-threatening adversity, but it's little pieces of adversity.
Yeah.
That's what winning and losing is. That's what practicing is. I mean, all of that stuff, and you build these things like muscles, and you can condition yourself to learn how to be uncomfortable regularly. You condition yourself how to take any adversity and learn from it and pull the lesson from it and turn it into something that will then become a positive. And it's not just business. I mean, I highlight primarily from sport to business and business to sport, but I mean, these are principles we need to function at a high level just as human beings, just for our own happiness and fulfillment and significance. You have to be prepared for these things.
Absolutely, because they happen so often. You even said when you miss the shot, it may not seem significant, but the shots add up, and then maybe you lose the game because you missed the shot, or just you lose the game in general. And having those losses, I know for me, looking back in my past experiences, if I didn't really face that adversity and I didn't know what it felt to lose, I probably wouldn't approach losing, and this sounds kind of bad, but losing in life, or maybe I talk about careers a lot on the podcast and trying to help people find their own trajectory, but maybe you didn't get the job or something like that. And if you haven't applied to a lot of jobs and you probably haven't not get accepted for a while, then if that happens once, you may be like, all right, throw in the towel. I'm done. I can't take it. But if I think, again, like programming your mind from an early age and missing the shots or getting your penalty kick blocked or missing that PAT or whatever it is, if your mind's programmed like, hey, that's okay, but you know what? But like you said, I'm gonna go back out to practice. I'm gonna kick 100 field goals. Or I'm gonna shoot 100 free throws. Or I'm gonna do 100 penalty kicks. Like I'm gonna do more. I just doing that, and that's why I love that you said that, because I think you said something like to learn from them, or how are you going to react from them, or what are you going to take away from that?
And that's what high performers do. They're open to all of the feedback, and the world is providing us the feedback every moment of every day. I mean, sometimes it's formal feedback, maybe from your boss or from a teacher. Sometimes it's informal feedback. You and I go out to lunch, and it's your body language and it's your eye contact. All of these things are feedback, and high performers stay alert and open to feedback. And then no matter what it is, they find a way to use it to make themselves better. So, if because you always have that choice. That's the control part that we have, which is our attitude. Well, I believe that feedback is inherently neutral. It's just data. It's sterile. It's 100% unbiased. It only becomes good or bad or right or wrong or makes us happy or sad when we attach emotion to it. So whatever feedback you get, you can choose to use it in a way that serves you. If you get what most people would consider positive feedback, then hopefully that reinforces what you've been doing and you double down and you continue to do more of that. Unfortunately, some people receive positive feedback and that makes them complacent or makes them arrogant. It makes them think they don't need to put in the work. But that choice is yours. Same thing with feedback that most people would consider negative. You could take a step back and say, okay, let me learn from this. What's a lesson that I can pull that I can make myself better? Or other people, unfortunately, choose to let negative feedback erode their confidence and rattle their cage and lower their self-value. So no matter what happens to you on the job or in sport or in life, you get to choose whether or not to use it in a way that moves you forward. And that's the key to being a high performer is no matter what happens, you're going to inch forward because of it. Then, I mean, you've got the winning hand. You've got what you need because it doesn't matter if what happens is good, bad, or neutral. You're going to get better from it. And that consistent drive to get better and learn lessons is the key. I mean, we're all human, so we're all fallible. And, you know, I mean, I make a good handful of mistakes every single day. But I'm finally at a point now where I have the self-awareness and the maturity to own the mistakes, recognize them, do my best not to repeat them, but to learn something from it so that I can move forward. So you're either going to be successful or you're going to learn something, and either way, you keep going forward.
Yeah, it's not even win or lose, it's win or learn. That's something I try to think about, and I think that if you're not having these failures, then, and I've said this exactly before, if you don't have the failures, then are you really pushing yourself? And one of the things you said that I've fallen trap to is complacency. You know, we were talking about comfortability and complacency and feeling good, and I've talked about, again, going back to careers, like people, and I've had this conversation with my wife actually just this weekend. We were talking about our lives, and we're comfortable, we can pay our bills. I'm so thankful, like truly I'm grateful for the roof over my head, that it's warm, it's snowing outside, so like I'm so thankful that it's warm in here and we're comfortable, which is good, but I'm grateful for it. But we're yearning for more. We're really pushing for more. We're trying to better ourselves. So all these things really tie in together, but it's hard to be able to decipher it if you're not, or what you said about being able to figure out or be cognizant of it, be aware of your thoughts and then how you react to them.
Yeah, my goal for myself is I'm trying to reach a level of consciousness where I'm a spectator to my own thoughts and I'm a spectator to my own feelings. Yeah. So I don't try to suppress things. I mean, I get disappointed, frustrated, angry, ticked off. I mean, just like anybody else. But where I've like to believe I've matured and grown is that I don't react upon those feelings and I don't do things based on them. Yeah. I can almost take a step outside of myself and go, okay, I'm really irritated right now. Why am I feeling this way? Yeah. Let's bring in all the information that we can. First of all, have some grace and compassion and say, it's okay to be irritated. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. We have these emotions in our palate for a reason. So don't suppress them or ignore them or try to get rid of them. Just recognize why you're feeling that way and then take a breath and say, okay, well, I'm not going to make a decision when I'm in this state of mind because I know that it won't be the best decision I'm capable of making.
Dude, and, I love that. Yeah, absolutely love that.
Before I take it out on Kristof because I'm angry about something else, let me take a beat and make sure that my communication with you in this case would be appropriate. So it takes practice and I'm better than I used to be, but I'm certainly far from perfect at it. But the goal is just continual progress. You know, we can aim for perfection, but we should be very pleased with progress.
Absolutely, man. I love everything about what you said. And again, like I talk to my wife about this all the time. We're always trying to, like, we're, again, happy with where we're at, but there's so many things we have to work on. And again, like I've brought her on a couple live sessions. We've talked about relationships And a lot of times, we talk about emotions. You kind of brought up emotions, and being cognizant in the moment is super hard. Like I know, especially with a relationship where you're so emotionally attached to somebody, it's really hard to stop and be able to, but you said, practice, but with practice, it gets a little bit easier. You get a little bit of progress to be able to stop in the moment and be like, whoa, I'm acting crazy, or I'm not thinking rationally, and the words that I'm saying are just coming out of a place that I don't even know where they're coming at. But then again, like kind of seeing yourself from the third party and being like, whoa, I am not actually these thoughts that are coming into my head. Let me, pump the brakes, take a step back, at least be aware of what is going on. And I think you do that enough times, and like you said, you want to strive for perfection, but we want to see progress. And that's all my wife and I can ask of each other, is that we're cognizant of it, that we're aware of each other, we're seeing it from each other's point of view, and that we're going to work on it with each other.
For sure. And we have to recognize moods are a real thing, and moods fluctuate and change just as often as anything else. So It's important to have the awareness to think to yourself, okay, I'm on a little bit of a bad mood. I'm a little bit irritable. I'm a little bit crabby. This is probably not the best time to have a discussion with my wife because probably not going to
don't set yourself up for failure. Exactly.
Yeah. So just recognize that and have the awareness to say, sweetheart, I know this is important to you, but is this cool if we talk about this later? I'm just not in a great frame of mind right now. And if you're with a partner that also has high self-awareness and you guys have open communication and great connection, then they'll be able to recognize that and say, absolutely. So let's sleep on it. Let's give this a talk tomorrow. Because, it's amazing just how different, our moods make us feel. I mean, when you're in a good mood, the sun is shining, the air is cleaner, the birds are chirping, everything in your life seems better. Your relationship is wonderful. You love your job. Everything's great. And then if you're in an awful mood, all of those things haven't changed a bit, but the perspective has changed. And all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
You don't like your job. You wish your spouse was better. This, and it's just, we have to make sure that, and that's ultimately what self-awareness is.
Sure.
It's being able to understand and manage our own emotions. It's being able to understand and manage the emotions around us and the people that we're with. And it's being able to create alignment between how we see ourselves and how the world sees us. And this is something that takes daily work, it takes daily deposits, and it takes consistent practice. Self-awareness is not something you ever arrive at. It's a constant journey, and there'll always be ebbs and flows where there's times where you have higher awareness, times where you have lower awareness, and they can be in the same week. So it's not even just has to do with age or maturity. Yeah,
it's so funny how you describe work. Again, in my own life, like some days I'll feel great about my job and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And even the podcast, because the podcast is my second job, like I do it after my work right now. And even this, like I absolutely love doing it. I'm really enjoying speaking to you and hearing your thoughts on everything and your perspective. But, sometimes you got to do the nitty gritty and do all the editing and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't really enjoy this. And then other days I'm like you said, nothing's changed, but I'm like, this is awesome. Like editing is super fun and I have a great time doing this. Or like I started with saying about my work, I feel like nothing's changed. I'm still doing the same things for the most part. I'm still working with the same people. And it baffles me, or not baffles me, more positively, like it perplexes me. It's so mysterious to me that it's all just in your head. Like everything stays the same. And it's just how you perceive it. But to be aware of it and then understand that you're perceiving these things on a daily basis differently. And then kind of, if you're able to look at that from that third point of view, all right, I see what's going on here. And then slowly, like you said, start working on it. And then, like you said, having, whether it's, a relationship, your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, having somebody, your family members, having somebody in your life that's close to you and you share all these moments with, cognizant with you, kind of like your teammate, talking about sports, working on it with you is very helpful, because I can imagine that if you have a mind like we're discussing right now, but the person you live with doesn't see it like that, then you could be working on these things all yourself, but I feel like they're just going to be tugging at your shirt and pulling you down, because and you're going to be like, well, what the hell is going on here? Like, I'm thinking all these thoughts, and how do you not see what I'm seeing? So I think that could be tough, and that goes like to another story of well, who are you hanging out with? Who are you spending your life with? And
No,
I think it was our mutual friend David Meltzer is saying, I heard him say, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future."
Yeah, who's in your inner circle is one of the most important decisions that you have to make. If you surround yourself with the type of people that you aspire to be, so people that have the types of habits that you want to have, that live the type of lifestyle that you want to live. And I'm not talking about anything materialistic or financial. I mean, if that's important to someone, there's nothing wrong with that. But
sure.
I mean, if you want to play big in life, then you've got to surround yourself with people that play big. And if you want to increase your own self-awareness, then you need to be around people that are acutely self-aware of what they're doing. One of the things that I find interesting about this whole concept and conversation we're having is, when it comes to high performance, it's interesting because you have to be aware of your fluctuating moods, and you have to be aware of your surroundings and all of these things. But, in many jobs, and I'll use myself as an example, as a professional speaker, you have to be on. You get paid to deliver. When I have to step on stage, it's irrelevant what my mood is, how I'm feeling. I have to have the level of professionalism and preparation to deliver at that time. And what I found for me is I can get myself, regardless of what mood I'm in, I can get myself in the right frame of mind by the habits and disciplines and routines that I have, kind of my pregame, even the night before. But I mean, as you could probably imagine, and your listeners as well, if I have flights delayed and canceled and miss Ubers, and it's raining, and I step in a puddle, and then I show up to speak. Yeah, I'm probably not, on cloud nine, but I have to get myself there because that's what I'm being paid to do. And same thing in sport. I mean, as we're recording this, we're approaching Super Bowl Sunday. It really doesn't matter how those players feel on Sunday from a mood standpoint. They better have their A game, because this is the big show. And because they're professionals and they're high performers, they've learned how to get themselves there, so it's not happenstance. And that part's crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of reminds me of one thing I've heard you say, going back to having people in your life, is I think you describe it as a plus, a minus, and an equals. Now that was really cool because, I firmly believe in having mentors and people that you look up to and people that you want to strive to be. But I really liked, for those who haven't heard it, a plus being that mentor, somebody you look up, somebody that can kind of pass down the information that's maybe a few years ahead of you, and then your equal, that is kind of at the same level of you and you guys are struggling where you all are. And then the minus of somebody that's not necessarily like below you and less than you by any means, but somebody that's just maybe started a few years behind you, and you inversely. And this is why I love this, is because one of the things in the podcast is we want to better ourselves. I'm bettering myself by talking to you. I hope to God that I'm, maybe shedding some light for you and just at least exercising your speech and all of these things and these ideas, and maybe hardening them in your head and opening up new ideas. But at the same time, just as, you may be my plus in this situation, you're feeding me information, then I always, and I tell you, I bring up my wife a lot because, she lives with me, so I talk to her all the time, and we want to better ourselves. So you're my plus right now. She's my equal. I'm going to go talk to her, and then maybe somebody at work tomorrow is maybe in a different position, and he or she's trying to better himself, and I'm going to go give them the information. But wrapping back around to the podcast is, I always want to better myself by talking to you and all these people I talk to, but I want to teach the listeners as well that, we want to better ourselves, but we want to share this information. Like, if you learn something, share it with somebody else. And if we all do that, and even though there's 7 billion people and a trillion things happening at any given second of any given day, we absolutely can make an impact on the world. Because if everybody has that mentality, then that's just the reciprocate, the unlimited and exponential reciprocation is quite beautiful to me. But the plus, the equals, the minus, I love how you said that, and I hope people take that away from this.
But the cool thing is, and I learned that from Frank Shamrock, who was one of the originators of UFC, and just a brilliant guy, and he was the one that taught it to me. And it's something I try to implement. But I've also learned, just with the way life is and all of these different aspects of life that we're in, we're gonna rotate through plus equals and minuses all of the time.
Sure.
And you could literally walk in one room where you're the plus, and 2 seconds later walk in another room and you're the minus, and then you go hang out with a bunch of equals later. It's all the same. And even in my book, I mean, my book is broken into 3 sections. One is for the player or the individual, one is for the coach or the leader, and one is for the team. And we're always ebbing and flowing through those 3 different as well. I mean, you know, someone may go to work and they're technically the employee, but then they go home and they're the head of their household, so now they're a leader. And both a family and a business are both, you know, organizational cultures, if you will. We don't refer to families that way very often. So we're going in and out of these things all of the time, and we don't ever want to be so rigid or confined that we feel like we're just in a box. And, you know, the neat part too, even within the plus equal minus system, there's going to be different portions. Like, I mean, you and I are just now getting acquainted and getting to know each other, but I guarantee there are certain areas that you have much more expertise and experience than I do. And in those areas, you would be the plus and I would be the minus.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
And there might be some other areas where I have some more knowledge or background and I'm the plus and you're, so it's, nothing is ever 100% fixed. And that's why, you know, with what we started our conversation with is being prepared for change and having the adaptiveness and the flexibility and the fluidness to move in and out of all of these different things at all times.
Yeah, and I love how you wrapped it all the way back around, because like one of my favorite things to say, because it always happens, is like all this stuff just comes back together. Like you can't just have one thing, and it's not just black and white or ones and zeros, like you said, right? There's things that you know that I don't know, and vice versa, and we can all have something to teach each other. But then again, like you brought it back to the beginning and change, talking about that, it all wraps together. Like you have one thing, you can't just be like, all right, I can do change, like I'm going to get through the world, but you have to be like, all right, there's somebody else that I can learn out there, or there's somebody I can learn that from. There's discomfort's not really a bad thing, or whoa, I'm about a little bit too emotional in this conversation. So all these little things that we've talked through this session is like, yeah, let's try to work on all these things. And if we can strive to do that every single day, like you said, little incremental changes throughout the day, then man, I know we'll be better people because of it.
For sure. And that's what it takes. And I had mentioned it earlier, but it's a fine balance between confidence and humility. Confidence comes from one thing. It comes from demonstrated performance. It comes from putting in the work to know you deserve the right to be successful at whatever it is that you're trying to do. And when you've put in the work during the unseen hours and you've put in the reps, you will develop a confidence for whatever it is that you're doing. You know, when I take the stage to give a talk, I'm very confident because I've prepared, I've rehearsed, I've done everything that I can do to put myself in a position to give the best talk that I'm capable of. However, you have to be very careful never to let that teeter over to the side of arrogance or narcissism. Humility is acknowledging and having the openness to realize that no matter how good you are, you can still get better, and you're not better than anybody else because we don't play the comparison game. So that part is crucial, and that's key to being coachable. You know, if you were to ask me what handful of adjectives would I like on my tombstone, or would I like for someone to describe me, I would hope coachable is one of them, because to me, coachable implies a certain humility where you're open to learn, and that's key. That's where for me to enter a conversation with you, and the first thing that I think of is, okay, there's going to be things that Kristof knows more than I do about, and I want to be very open and welcoming to receive those things so that I can get better, and I want to be able to share with him so we have a reciprocal relationship. That's the humility required for constant development and growth. The moment you think you know everything, then you're dead in the water. And I think there's a lot of people, I don't think they think they know everything there is to know, but they decide very quickly and pass judgment that they already know everything they could learn from this person. So I don't need to listen to Kristof because I already know everything he could teach me. And that's an incredible.
Well, and then you're inadvertently auto-tuning all this stuff out that may be just going over your head, because maybe I am even telling you stuff, in this example, that you don't know, but you've already decided, like you said, preemptively, that there's absolutely nothing that I can teach you. So maybe we're tuning those things out. So I think that's a great point to think about just in your daily life, no matter who it is. Pluses and the minuses.
I have 3 young kids. I have 8-year-old twin sons and a 6-year-old daughter. And they teach me things all of the time. I mean, it's very rare that they're teaching me something on an academic level because I know more than they do from a knowledge base, but they teach me stuff all the time about, just about the way the world works and about emotion and about, grittiness and all of the different stuff. If you keep your eyes open, you can learn from any situation, and that should always be the goal. And I've always been a big believer that it's just as important to learn what not to do as it is what to do. Mm-hmm. So if I were to walk into any gym in the world right now to watch a coach lead practice, I know that I'm going to leave there with some tools, because I'm either going to see some things that work really well that I'd want to emulate and use, or I'm going to see some things that don't work well, and I know to cross those things off the list. And that could be in the form of drills. That could be in the form of the way they communicate with their players. Really, if you, and same thing with any book or any documentary or any podcast. I mean, read a book. It doesn't mean you have to adopt everything that the book says. Yeah. You might find some things in the book that strengthen your convictions and beliefs. You might find some things that cause you to rethink your convictions or beliefs, or you might see some things that, you simply don't agree with, and that's okay too. So the openness.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are such great points, and it's applicable to all of life. And I definitely stray away from politics here, but I'll just use it as a quick example of people being, all the way left or all the way right. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you don't have to agree with, everything on the left. You don't have to agree with everything on the right. And I'm just using that as an example because God knows I don't want to get into politics, but you can pick and choose a little bit from that, a little bit from this. And I like, we'll go back to the book example because that's a lot better. But, and it took me a little while. I was reading books. I was like, well, I just don't like this book because it said this one thing or said that thing. Well, I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, I can take a couple things out of here and these are great. And these other things I don't really subscribe to, but that's okay. Like you said, going into the gym, looking at the coach. But if you go into the book or if you go into the gym already going like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like this author, or I don't like whoever this coach is. Well, then you're definitely not going to learn, because even if the book says something you don't like, or even if the coach does something you don't like, you're not going to be able to look at that as a learning session, right? You're not going to be able to look at, like you said, taking something away from that.
For sure. And really, when it comes to knowledge, we shouldn't be too consumed with what we like or don't like. We should look at it objectively and say, okay, is this right, or is this best, or could this be helpful? I mean, we're all going to default towards the things that we do like, but the more open we can be to learning from all of these different areas, the better. I mean, when I was coming up as a basketball performance coach, there was a very specific methodology that I believed was the most effective for training. And I didn't believe that it was right or better. It was just what I believed was best for training. Sure. However, I had to make sure that I studied all of the other different philosophies and methodologies to really strengthen my own convictions. I mean, for me to say, hey, this way is the best way to train basketball players, then I had to really understand the other ways, or I can't have a legitimate argument. So,
yeah, that's a really good point.
Regardless of what side of the fence you're on, you need to learn what the other person or other philosophy or other side of the fence is thinking, so that you can really strengthen your own beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes even back to it's like an art of war thing. Like, you're not just going to practice or train, I guess in this example, of the type of battle that you're going to do. Like, what is my enemy doing? And it's not like I subscribe to my enemy, but it's what kind of tactics are they using, at least so I can understand them better. Because maybe if you're a debater, like if you want to debate somebody, don't you want to understand what they're saying, so at least you can fully be able to decipher what they're going to try to articulate to you, and fully understand why you don't understand or why you don't agree with what they're saying. That's what I'm pulling away from that.
For sure. And I know that the high performers that I've been around, they would be open to any type of coaching or training philosophy or methodology. They just want what's best for them. So it's about picking allegiances. It's not about saying everyone in this camp is right. It's let's look at everything objectively and let's figure out what's best. And we constantly have to reevaluate that. I mean, I know even in my own life now, I'm constantly being educated on nutrition and personal fitness and finance and all of these different areas that I would like to be fit in. And I'm trying to study these things. And these things change. I mean, the way that I eat today is a lot different than the way I used to eat a few years ago. Now, a few years ago, I was eating what I thought was the best way to eat, but I've learned a lot since then. And, I'm hoping that I'm on a path that will continue to change.
Yeah.
So whether it's working out or nutrition or any area of your life, you want to be as well prepared and well researched as you can, stay open to anything, and then using, both your intuition and your intellect, choose what you believe is best for you.
And that's why you're the person that loves change, and I'm the person that loves change, because we understand that there has to be change in order to better yourself. If you're going to continue to want to better yourself, if you want to continue to want to eat better, train better, lift better, run faster, dribble quicker, whatever, I don't care what you're doing, but you're going to change how you do it a little bit because you want to do it better. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, same thing with diet, myself, my workout routine. It's always changing how I run. All these little things are constantly tweaking because how I read a book, all these things physically, mentally, they both reflect off of each other, and they're so mutually beneficial. Because if I'm lacking in the gym, then if I miss a workout in the morning, then when I've done it in the past, because that's one thing I'm changing, I'm not missing workouts in the morning, but I'm just saying, like, when I used to do that, then my mind would suffer for the rest of the day. So if I'm not changing to where I know, all right, this is my non-negotiable, and I'm going to do this in the morning no matter what, then I know my mind is going to be set for the rest of the day. Now, there might be some stuff that comes up, but I know at least I started my morning like this, physically exerting myself, challenging myself, and I know that's what it takes to set myself up for success for the rest of the day.
That's the key part of self-awareness, is being able to figure these things out. I mean, do you know what fills your bucket and energizes you? Do you know, from what food you eat to how much sleep you need to get, to what type of workouts to do, to how often are you doing professional with it? Like, all of that stuff matters, and it's not a finite point. It will change,
Sure.
But it's important to continually try to hone that target and figure those things out, and that's where complacency can get in, because I mean, we know statistically that most people don't even work out. And then you look at those that do, I would venture to say most of them have been doing the same type of workout for years and years. And It just stagnates. And then they get physically stale, they get mentally stale. Now they're just kind of going to the gym and going through the motions. So I'm always trying to constantly reinvent myself and reinvent the ways that I approach things and shake them up. And the way that I do that is by constantly searching out people and events and things that I can go to and be a part of that are going to challenge my thinking and that are going to push me to stretch, and then give those things a try. I mean, there's just so many people that just kind of cross their arms and just say, okay, no, this is the way I do it. I want to try these things. I mean, I've always been fascinated with Tim Ferriss, who's kind of the proclaimed human guinea pig, because he tries all of this different stuff, and he's a little bit too extreme for what I do for myself. But if somebody says, hey, this type of diet has been really good, and I've been able to lose some body fat and have very high energy and great mental clarity, then I'm going to research it a little bit. And if I do some research and the dots start to line up, then I'm going to try it for myself. And then if it works, I'm going to keep doing that. And constantly making these tweaks is the key to not only performance but also happiness. And I don't want to forget that side of the equation. I believe performance and happiness are directly correlated, that the higher we perform in any area of our life, the happier and more fulfilled we are. And, anyone will tell you that when you're performing really well at work, your home life just seems to be better. And, when things are going well at home, you tend to perform better at work. These things, it's not an accident. They're all directly related.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the inverse, again, I know when I'm at home and I'm having my, things are going well, and, you're not always, I mean, think about it. If you're always arguing with your significant other or somebody, then you're going to go out into the world, you're going to go out into your work and be like, whew, your head's not even going to be straight by any means. And I was talking to Andy Dane Carter a couple conversations ago, and he was saying, number one for him is his family, like bar none. He gets his mind right there, and then he's ready to go out and hunt. And he's going to do that, and he's going to work just as hard there. But if his mind's not right and he doesn't have that clarity before he goes out and goes to work, it's just not going to work for him.
The key to all of this is eliminating as much of the guesswork as possible. So, and that's why I feel very confident that regardless of my mood, regardless if I've got the sniffles, regardless if I couldn't sleep, any of those things, when I take the stage, I'm able to perform at a very high level, because I've created a process and a step-by-step system that allows me to get to that right mindset when I need to, and then when I don't need to, if I wasn't doing this podcast right now and I'm just in my apartment by myself, then I'm allowed to be off, and I can
Sure.
turn it off, and be in whatever mood strikes me, and whatever. But that's the key is, I don't have to just magically try to will myself into a mindset to be ready to get on stage. I know what I need to do to lead myself to that level of performance.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And that's what high performers do. I mean, because if you only perform when you feel like it, or you only perform when it's convenient, you're not a high performer. I mean, because very rarely those things all line up.
Yeah, because you need to be performing high all the time, because typically the most amount of people that are stuck in that comfort zone are just only going to perform high when they feel like it. So if you're going to have these constructs, that these kind of molds, or these, like you said, pregame rituals, but I mean, it's for real. Like, I get it. Like, just like the same thing, we're going to do growing up playing sports, and we do in our lives now, these pregame rituals. This is a song I listened to before I went out to the football game, or this is, the words I listened to before I went out and did the 110-meter hurdles. Like, all of these things in my life, I knew I had to have my mindset, and then it's applicable to life, and it's applicable to my family, but you are prepared. And having that preparedness, it's like a mold. Like you said, it doesn't matter how you feel. Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I've laid out for myself. And I'm just going to do it because I know I have to do it.
And consistency is crucial. I mean, I have a very set morning routine. It's 30 minutes long, and I do it every single morning. It doesn't matter if I'm here at home or if I'm on the road. Now, every once in a while, something may have to be tweaked a little bit.
Sure,
if my kids spend the night and my daughter ends up sleeping in my bed, that might change it a little bit. So it's not about being rigid or being robotic. But I know that every morning when I do my 30 minutes, and that starts to build the consistency. So I don't have to wake up and wonder, what kind of day is today going to be? Today's going to be a great day because I'm laying the foundation for it to be a great day.
Absolutely.
And I'm prepared for the fact that life's going to throw a bunch of stuff at me today that's going to try to make it a not so great day, but I'll be prepared to handle it then. And, the bookends of our day, how we spend the last 60 minutes before we go to bed and how we spend the first 60 minutes when we wake up plays a monumental role in how everything in between is going to go. And everybody listening to this right now has a morning and an evening routine. My only question is, have you designed it with intention and purpose, or have you just fallen backwards into it? Because we are creatures of habit. There was a study at Duke University that said 45% of everything we do during our waking hours is habitual. So that means almost half of everything we do from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed is on autopilot and is on cruise control. So our habits are incredibly important. So we need to really design those bookends of the day strategically, and we need to be able to figure these things out and say, hey, when I go to bed at this time and I do this before I go to bed and I wake up and I do this, I tend to have a better day. Well, then start doing more of that.
Absolutely.
I mean, the oldest adage to success, the oldest recipe is do more of what works, do less of what doesn't. I mean, it's common sense 101, but you'll find people all the time that don't continue to do the things they know work and continue to try to do the things that they know don't. And it's foolish, because these are otherwise really intelligent people.
Yeah, but it kind of goes back to what you said, right, of being able to look at yourself from that third person, because if you don't have that coachability, and if you're not able to look at yourself from that perspective, then you're not going to be able to assess what you're doing throughout the day. And, 45% of your day is just going through these habitual things that you're so prone to do without even knowing them. But I really, really like, and I think it's probably more because I've been doing it so much more intentionally lately, but I've been doing the morning routine much more intentional recently. It's been about 20, 25 minutes in the morning. So almost, pretty close to yours, but, it's waking up, not snoozing. People that have heard me before have 100% heard this. I say it a lot, but, waking up, I mean, I'm 31 years old, and for 31 years, I was a snoozer. Like, that's a long time to break a habit. And I just woke up and I was like, no, I'm going to wake up, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a W. I'm going to win. Like, I'm going to set the intention that my goals and my dreams and my hopes and my aspirations and all these things in my day, that I don't want to go through just not thinking about what I'm going to be doing, like you said, 45% of the time, but I'm going to wake up no way am I hitting that snooze, because if I want to do anything else in my life, if I hit the snooze button, then I'm not going to be able to do anything else. Like I can't rightfully tell myself that I have these huge goal that I want, to do whatever it is. I literally don't care how big or small it is, but there's no way I can rightfully obtain that goal if I can't just get past this thing in the morning, right? So I'm just saying, like, again, for anybody listening, it doesn't, like, age is irrelevant, and how much you've done something is irrelevant. And it goes back to, like, what you said. It just matters up here in your head. Like, make the decision to change, and you can do it, because I haven't snoozed a day since.
Love it. Yeah, it all comes down to that intention and discipline, for sure.
Alan, I've absolutely 100% enjoyed my conversation with you. And I just, like I said, I started, and you're like, I think we're going to see eye to eye. And I was like, yep. And as it just went on going, I was like, I love it, and it's good to be in agreement with people like this very much. And I do love when I have challenge opinions too. But man, I just absolutely loved everything you said today. And I'm so appreciative of your time. Thank you.
No, absolutely. My pleasure. Feelings very mutual, and I hope your listeners feel like they got something helpful and meaningful from this. And if they have any interest in any of the stuff I got going on, I'm at Alan Stein Jr. on Instagram
please.
And all the major social handles. And I just love having dialogue, so someone can certainly reach out if something resonated.
Sure.
If they have any interest in the book that just came out, Raise Your Game, you can go to raiseyourgamebook.com. And AlanSteinJr.com's got everything else. So, no, it's been a real pleasure talking with you as well, Kristof. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will link the book in the bottom. Don't worry, we'll have that going for you, and everything else. People will be able to reach you. And like I said, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care.
See ya.